We are introduced to the Waller family as they look for a new home, with Ray, the father, having recently retired from his baseball career due to illness. Unimpressed with the first house, they continue to explore the area. Eve is driving when Ray suddenly instructs her to stop, pointing at a house for sale. They visit the property, discovering it has plenty of space for their needs, and a pool outside which seems to be of interest to Ray. As they prepare to leave, Ray notices a baseball floating in the pool and reaches for it, but accidentally falls in. At this moment, memories of his baseball days flood back as he struggles for air. Fortunately, he snaps out of it and manages to drag himself out of the pool. Elliot, their son, witnesses the accident and races to check on his dad, while calling for his mom. The next day, Eve takes Ray to the hospital, where the doctor advises them to find a low-impact activity for him to do daily, such as walking, yoga, or swimming. Leaving the hospital, Ray suggests buying the house they visited earlier so he can engage in swim therapy. Eve, worried about their children changing schools due to Ray's baseball career, raises her concerns. She questions Ray about their lack of a permanent home and whether he truly wants one as well. Ray assures her that he also desires the same thing. The Waller family decides to purchase the house with the pool. Eve lands a new job, while Izzy and Elliot transfer to different schools. After settling in, the family decides to clean up the pool together. During this, Ray tells Elliot that he has asked his coach to help with their baseball practice, to which Elliot agrees. Izzy also informs her parents that she wants to join the swimming team. Ray expresses his pride as they clean the pool drain. Suddenly, he yells in pain, cut by something in the drain. With blood dripping from his hand, Eve and the children rush over to check on him. To their surprise, they notice a disgusting black liquid leaking out of the drain. Confused, they immediately call for maintenance, asking about the pool's safety. The maintenance team informs them that their pool is self-sustaining, using a natural filtration and geothermal heating system. The water is drawn from an underground spring in the area, tapped underwater. They also mention they've never seen a spring-fed pool like theirs. After the maintenance team fixes the pool, Ray tests it to ensure it's safe to swim in. Then the family have a great time swimming and playing. Ray uses the pool for exercise and confides in Eve that his recent illness happened for a reason. She comforts him by reminding him that he will always be a baseball player and not to dwell on what happened. Later that night, Ray unpacks their belongings while watching old family videos. Meanwhile, Eve decides to go for a night swim. While swimming, she notices her cat acting strangely and agitated near the poolside. She ignores it, pondering what might have caused the behavior. Suddenly, she's startled by someone standing at the poolside. Laughing, she assumes it's Ray trying to scare her. However, upon closer inspection, she realizes no one is there. Feeling scared, she rushes back into the house, checking on her children before finding Ray asleep in their room. When he senses her presence, she asks if he went outside, and Ray says no. She suggests they put a pool cover on just to be safe. As the family cat lounges on the diving platform, a toy boat suddenly emerges from the water, catching the cat's attention. The following day, Elliot steps outside and calls for his parents. The family soon discovers that their cat is missing, with only its collar left in the pool. They fear the cat may have fallen into the pool and drowned. Despite calling out to the cat by name, they can't locate it. They search all over, but it's nowhere to be found. While Eve and the kids continue looking for the cat, Ray removes the collar and goes inside to tend to his wound. To his amazement, his hand is completely healed, as if there had never been a wound at all. Elliot remains worried and continues searching for his cat. He tries tempting him with food while calling out his name. Following the incident, Ray and Elliot help each other cover the pool. Eve asks Izzy to be kind to Elliot as he's grieving the loss of his cat, and it hasn't been easy for him. Izzy reciprocates, but Eve assures her that she's fine. That night, Eve has a dream that she's lying on the pool floor in the dark, then suddenly wakes up confused. Realizing she's alone in bed, she looks out the window and sees Ray swimming alone. The next day, Ray attends a therapy session, and the doctor is pleasantly surprised to see significant improvement in his condition. Ray explains that he's been doing swim therapy in their pool and believes it has helped him a lot. The next day after school, Elliot asks his mom if he can go swimming. She says he can't go alone and suggests he ask his dad to accompany him. Ray is working out when Elliot asks him if he wants to dive for coins with him. Ray tells him to stay in the shallow end and gives him a coin to throw in the pool, so Ray can come find it soon after. Elliot waits for his dad in the pool, sitting underwater when he hears a coin hit the floor. He thinks it's his dad but finds no one there. He checks with his goggles and swims to the other side of the pool to retrieve the coin. While underwater, He sees a girl standing poolside and surfaces, thinking it's his sister playing a trick on him. Suddenly, a loud noise startles him, and he hears a young girl's voice introducing herself as Rebecca. Elliot sees a toy inside the skimmer plate and tries to pull it out, but a hand grabs him. He panics and runs inside the house to tell his mom. Eve rushes outside but doesn't see anyone, and Ray suggests that Elliot might have imagined it all, since he doesn't have any real friends yet. That afternoon, they go to Elliot's baseball training at school to show support, where Ray guides the team. The coach asks if Ray wants to give it a try, which Ray, with some hesitation, accepts. His first attempt fails and he falls due to his condition. Ray tries again and hits the ball, sending it flying far away, which surprises but also confuses Eve and the children. Later that night, Ray and Eve leave their children at home to go out for dinner. Izzy warns Elliot not to tell anyone that she invited her schoolmate, Ronan. Later, Ronan and Izzy play Marco Polo in the pool. When it's Izzy's turn to catch him, Ronan decides to play a prank on her. He gets out of the pool, leaving her alone. Suddenly, the lights start flickering and Izzy starts hearing the word polo coming from nearby. Assuming that Ronan is messing with her, she looks down but there's no one to be seen. Suddenly, someone from behind her shouts polo again, but when she turns around, there is still no one there. Diving underwater to find Ronan, someone suddenly grabs her feet, dragging her down. Izzy struggles to reach the surface and notices a small opening at the top, which she eventually reaches. When she surfaces, Ronan helps her out of the pool. She tells him there was someone under the water. Ronan comforts her, saying there's nothing down there and that she might have gotten her leg caught on something. Saturday comes, and Elliot knocks on Izzy's door, asking her if she saw something. Izzy denies it, not wanting anything to happen that might force them to move again. Elliot thinks the pool might be helping them while also haunting them. Izzy tells him not to tell anyone. The next day, during a pool party, Elliot sets up a camcorder to capture any unusual activity that may occur in the pool. After experiencing unexplainable events and witnessing his dad's sudden health improvement, Elliot becomes suspicious. Eve also becomes worried about the strange occurrences happening in their pool. While Eve and Kay, the realtor, are in the kitchen, Eve asks Kay about the history of the pool. Eve mentions that she discovered the pool hasn't been used in 15 years. Kay tries to deflect the topic by suggesting the previous owners weren't interested in swimming. However, Eve is curious and presses for more information. Kay didn't want to spoil the Waller family's happiness by revealing the truth, but eventually confesses that a little girl from Holter Holt drowned in the pool. This prompts Eve to ask if the little girl's name was Rebecca, to which Kay, surprised, asks how she knew that. At the pool, Ray and a few neighbors are playing a game called Chicken Fight. Ray and the kid on his shoulder are close to winning when Ray suddenly goes under and doesn't let go of the kid. While underwater, a black liquid comes out of the drain and goes inside Ray's mouth, causing him to become possessed and try to drown the kid. Elliot witnesses the incident and immediately calls his mom for help. Fortunately, the kid's parents don't press charges, assuming that Ray might have had another episode. However, they leave the Wallers' house upset. Eve tries to convince Ray that they need to leave the house, telling him that something's wrong with the pool, but he insists that there's nothing wrong. As they're leaving, Ray begins coughing and gasping for air, forcing them to return to the house. In bed, as Ray is recovering, he tells Eve that he never meant to hurt the kid. However, he keeps insisting that he needs to go back to the pool one last time. Eve conducts her own investigation about the pool and discovers a long history of disappearances in the house. Tracking down the Summers family, she manages to locate Lucy, Rebecca's mother, and inquires about what really happened. Lucy discloses to Eve that there was a spring in the ground before the house and pool was built, and nobody knew what was underneath it except that it granted people their desires. However, in return, it demanded something from them. Someone had to pay the price so it could continue to grant people's wishes. Lucy then confesses that she had sacrificed her own daughter so that her son, Tommy, could be healed. She reassures Eve that she shouldn't worry about her husband, as he is the one who will receive the wish. To Eve's horror, black liquid oozes out of Lucy's eyes and from the small fountain beside the window. Eve immediately flees from Lucy's house. At the Wallers' house, Ray is taking a shower when he suddenly begins choking. A black liquid comes out of his eyes and the pools drain at the same time. Later that night, Elliot hears a cat's meow and a bell ringing. He goes outside to look for his cat and sees the shadow of a cat on the flamingo float. Elliot reaches for the float and eventually gets a hold of it, but something else grabs the other side and drags Elliot with it into the pool. Suddenly, the pool cover starts to close on its own. Izzy runs outside to stop it, but she's unable to. Fortunately, Eve arrives just in time and helps Izzy prevent the cover from closing completely. She kicks the cover's handle to stop it and dives in to look for Elliot. Meanwhile, Izzy runs inside and calls for her dad, but she slips and gets cut by the shattered glass on the floor. She then sees her dad, who is possessed, and tries calling for help, but Ray smashes her phone. He grabs Izzy by her hair, but she manages to get away. Meanwhile, Eve searches for Elliot and eventually finds him at the deepest part of the pool. She tries to pull him out, but as she surfaces out of the water, she's seized by the people who had been sacrificed to the spring. They keep dragging her back into the water. Eve struggles against them but eventually breaks free. However, due to the darkness, she's lost and can't find her way out. She then sees Rebecca letting go of Elliot's happy coin. Eve realizes that she is upside down. She sees the light through a small opening and finally takes her son out of the water. She attempts to revive Elliot by pumping his chest, but Ray intervenes and tells her that love demands sacrifice. Eve tries to tell Ray that they need to get Elliot to the hospital, but suddenly, Ray grabs her by the neck. To their surprise, Izzy, who is standing behind Ray, hits him with a baseball bat several times, prompting Ray to remember their happy moments together and regain control of himself again. Finally, Elliot wakes up from his unconscious state. As they're leaving, Ray notices the black liquid spreading into the pool, and Elliot is still struggling to breathe as the entity tries to control him. Ray realizes they have to pay the spring to stop it from haunting them anymore. With a determined mind, Ray swims towards the black liquid and sacrifices himself to put an end to their suffering. Later, Eve, Izzy, and Elliot stand by the pool, discussing the idea of selling their house and moving to a different state. Despite the tragedy, Eve and her children make the decision to remain in the house so no one else could fall victim to the spring, as they watch the pool filled in to prevent any further hauntings by the spring. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.